I've been a park ranger for going on 6 years now. And I want to say upfront, I like my job. I genuinely do. Early mornings, fresh air, minimal office politics. You're mostly just checking permits, doing trail maintenance, making sure some guy from the suburbs hasn't built a fire in a burn ban zone. It's calm, methodical, the kind of work that lets your brain go quiet. So I'm not someone who's prone to, drama. I'm not a storyteller by nature. My friends would tell you I'm actually kind of boring. I watch a lot of baseball, I meal prep on Sundays, I go to bed at 10. That's me. That's the kind of person this happened to. I want you to understand that before I tell you the rest. The park I work, I'm not going to name it, for reasons that'll make sense later. It's a mid-sized state forest in the Pacific Northwest. Nothing famous. A few established trail systems, some dispersed camping zones, a handful of backcountry permits we issue each season. The kind of place that draws serious hikers and the occasional family who got a little too adventurous on vacation. We have 4 ranges total, rotating coverage. Most of the year it's quiet. Almost boring. Almost. When I was trained, my supervisor at the time was a woman named Carol. 22 years in the service, the kind of person who knew every trail by smell. On my 3rd week, after a long patrol, we were sitting in the ranger station eating gas station sandwiches, and she put down her water bottle and looked at me in this very specific way, like she was deciding something. There are 3 things, she said, that we don't talk about. Not with visitors. Not with each other. Not ever. I laughed a little. I thought she was joking. She didn't laugh back. She said, 1. If you find a campsite that's been abandoned with the food still out, and I mean untouched, everything's still laid out, like they just stepped away, you log it as a weather evacuation and you do not investigate further. 2. If you hear your name called from the tree line, especially at dusk, you do not respond. You do not turn around. You walk to your vehicle and you drive to the station. 3. If you are ever on the North Ridge, you know the one, where the trail splits at the granite marker, and your radio stops working, you turn back immediately. You do not try to fix it. You do not wait it out. You turn around and you move fast. I remember I said something like, "Okay, what happens if I don't?" She looked at me for a long moment. "No one's ever done all 3, she said. And then she picked up her sandwich again and changed the subject to permit quotas. I thought about that conversation a lot over the years. Filed it under Carol's a little eccentric. Told myself it was just old ranger superstition, the kind of oral tradition that builds up in any isolated workplace. I've heard similar stuff from firefighters, from search and rescue crews. Every profession that deals with wilderness long enough develops its folklore. I believed that. Right up until last September. It was a Thursday, late in the season. Most of the summer campers were gone, the trails were quiet, and I was doing solo patrol, which happens a lot in fall. The other rangers were handling a maintenance situation on the south end of the park. I was doing a routine sweep of the dispersed camping zones, checking for fire rings that needed to be cleared before winter. Standard stuff. I had my truck, I had my radio, I had a thermos of coffee that had gone cold about an hour earlier. I found the campsite around 4 p.m. I almost missed it. It was off the main trail by maybe 40 yards, tucked behind a stand of Douglas fir. But something caught my eye, a flash of color. Blue top. Someone had set up a decent camp. 2-person tent, a good one, a bare canister, a small camp stove, and a folding table set up with food still on it. Not like scattered food. Not like someone had been eating and left. I mean fully laid out. A bag of trail mix, a box of crackers, a Tupperware container that was still sealed. A water filter hanging from a branch. 2 tin camp mugs set side by side like they were waiting to be filled. My stomach did something uncomfortable. I stood there for a minute, just looking at it. The tent zipper was half open. A jacket was folded on top of a camp chair. There was a small notebook on the table next to the food. Everything was neat. Everything was, expectant. Like people had stepped away to use the bathroom and would be back any second. But there was no sound. No movement. And the light was getting that late afternoon quality, going golden, going long. I heard Carol's voice in my head. Log it as a weather evacuation and do not investigate further. My hand was already on my radio to call it in when I noticed the notebook. I know I shouldn't have. But it was just sitting there, open, like someone had been writing in it. And the page I could see from where I stood had what looked like a date at the top. I told myself I was just checking to see if there was contact information. A name, a permit number, something that would help me reach these people. I picked it up. It was a trip journal. 2 people, a couple, from what I could tell. They referred to themselves as M&T. The entries started 5 days earlier, which tracked with the camp setup. Normal stuff at first. Weather, mileage, how the trail conditions were. One of them had bad knees. They saw an elk on day 2. Then the last entry, dated 2 days before I found the site. Something is wrong with the North Ridge. Radio stopped on the way back from the granite marker. T didn't want to stay, but I wanted to get another look. T is asleep now. I don't think I'm going to sleep. The sound came again around midnight. Not an animal. I don't know how to describe it. It's like someone saying your name but with your own voice. T heard it too. Neither of us answered. Neither of us answered. I keep writing that like it's important. It is important. We didn't answer. That was the last line. The pen was still clipped to the page. My hands were doing something I don't usually let them do. They were shaking. I set the notebook down exactly where I found it. I called it in as a weather evacuation. I don't know why, muscle memory maybe. Some part of my brain that had actually absorbed what Carol told me even when I thought I wasn't listening. Dispatch noted it. I said I'd file the full report from the station. And then I started walking back to my truck. It was maybe a quarter mile. Straightforward trail, nothing technical. I've walked it 100 times. I was about halfway back when the light changed, the way it does fast in the fall, dropping all at once, and the tree line on my left went from gold to gray to dark. And I heard it. My name. Coming from the trees. I want to be very precise here because I've thought about this almost every day since. It didn't sound like a stranger calling out. It didn't sound like someone lost, or confused, or scared. It sounded exactly like my own voice. Not an imitation of my voice. My voice. The specific cadence of it. The way I say my own name in my head when I'm talking to myself. I stopped walking. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough that the last of the light went. Long enough that my heart was doing something that I genuinely wasn't sure was normal. I did not turn around. I want to be clear about that. Whatever seized up in my chest in that moment, whatever animal thing kicked in, I did not turn around. I stared straight ahead at the trail in front of me and I started walking again. Not running. I was afraid if I ran I'd trip. I was afraid of a lot of things right then. I heard it again when I was maybe 30 feet from the truck. Same voice. Same tone. Almost conversational, almost patient. Like it had all the time in the world. I got in the truck. I locked the doors. I sat there for a minute with the engine running, just breathing, staring at the tree line in the headlights. Nothing. Just trees. I drove to the station. I filed the report. I didn't put any of the real details in it. Just campsite found, occupants not located, logged as weather evacuation, no concerning signs of distress. Which was, technically, a lie. But I didn't know what the true version of events would look like written down. I still don't. I looked up the permit for that campsite when I got back. The couple had registered 5 days prior. 2 names. Their emergency contacts were listed. A week after I found the camp, I was in the station when a call came in to our main line. Someone asking if we'd seen their daughter and her boyfriend. They'd been out of contact. I wasn't the one who took the call. I was sitting in the back, and I heard my colleague say all the right things. Search and rescue. We'll file the report. We'll be in touch. We searched for 4 days. We found nothing. No sign of them, no gear, no indication of where they'd gone. The tent and supplies were gone by the time the search team reached the campsite, which makes sense, because it had rained, and maybe an animal had gotten into it, and I'm sure there are reasonable explanations for all of it. M&T. I still think about them. I still work the park. I still like my job. Mostly. I have a new supervisor now. Carol retired 2 years ago. I haven't told him about the rules. Not yet. I keep meaning to. I figure I'll find the right moment. The way Carol did with me. Wait until it feels necessary. Wait until someone needs to know before they find out the hard way. There's one thing I haven't been able to shake. I went back and looked at my radio log from that day. We keep records of transmission activity, timestamps, all of it. Standard stuff. My radio went out for 11 minutes during my walk back from the campsite. I didn't notice it at the time. I wasn't near the North Ridge. I was on a completely different trail. Nowhere near the granite marker. I don't know what that means. I've thought about it a lot and I still don't know. If you're ever hiking in a Pacific Northwest state forest and you come across a campsite that looks like people just stepped away, food still out, everything neat, nothing disturbed, keep walking. Don't touch anything. Don't look too closely. And if you hear something call your name from the tree line, especially at dusk, especially in your own voice, don't answer. Whatever you do, don't answer.